All right, Alexander, let's do a video on Trump. We haven't done one of these in a long time, but a lot of activity in and around Trump. The big news over the weekend was that Trump has been reinstated. His account has been reinstated to Twitter. Doesn't mean that Trump's going to be on Twitter. He actually stated that he's fine at Truth Social, his platform, and I'm sure there may be all kinds of legal tie-ups with regards to Trump, the personality, Trump the man, and Truth Social, a platform that he has a very large stake in. So his account is on Twitter. It's interesting to go back into the history of all the tweets that Trump has said, because people forget that when they got rid of Trump's Twitter account, they also kind of wiped out all of the tweets, which is kind of a trail of evidence as to what Trump said and what he didn't say. And then you tie it back into the January 6th and Russiagate and Ukrainegate and everything that went on during his presidency. So it's good to have all of those tweets there once again, so you could get the truth as to what Trump tweeted about, what he said. Anyway, there's Trump on Twitter. There's an investigation launched by Merrick Garland, and this investigation was launched after Trump announced officially that he's going to be running for president of the United States. So a lot of news in and around Trump, and I imagine this is just the beginning of everything that's going to come now that Trump is back in the political game.
Absolutely. Well, of course, he's never left the political game. And the extraordinary thing about Donald Trump is that whatever your feelings about Donald Trump, he dominates American politics. I mean, he's the person everybody is always talking about all the time. They're always saying, what is Trump going to do? What is going to happen to Trump? What are the events going to be that, concern Trump? And, of course, we have this special counsel now appointed to investigate Trump. Investigate Trump over what exactly? I mean, this whole thing is, to some extent, these endless investigations of Donald Trump that go on, that the Justice Department launches. I was reading an article, by the way, which was actually, I believe, in the Washington Post, where, the raid on Mar-a-Lago, which is apparently one of the topics of this investigation, this special counsel is going to be looking at, that apparently the FBI people who went there and have been sifting through all the documents have decided that there's absolutely nothing there that Trump took which he wasn't entitled to take, and that there was nothing really that he was trying to leverage or do anything with, and that there was nothing, in other words, illicit about his actions. So nonetheless, we see Merrick Garland, we see the Biden Justice Department appointing a special counsel. We see the Democrats still trying to plug on with their investigations over the events in January 2021, the events that took place on Congress. We see all of that going on. But ultimately, the big news again is that Donald Trump is back in contention for the White House. And as you said, he's got his Twitter account reinstated, and we're able to see all of the things he said. It is a historical record. My own personal view is that, assuming Twitter remains Twitter and survives the next couple of weeks and months, which I predict it will, I personally think that the advantages of using Twitter are so enormous to presidential candidate Donald Trump that he'll find some way of getting back in at some point. And we will see Donald Trump once again sending out his tweets with all the electrifying effect that they have on the American political system.
Yeah. Do you think Trump has learned something from his first go at presidency?
Yes, I do.
Do you think
do.
He's entering things with a different perspective, and specifically the people that he surrounds himself with? I think that's the key to unlocking Trump's potential.
Absolutely.
The people who he surrounds himself with. That was what did him in last time, and that's what could do him in the next time. Do you think he has an understanding of that, or is he still stuck on being liked by everybody, including the DC swamp?
Well, I think that there's a fundamental difference between Trump in 2016, 2017 and Trump today, which is that Trump in 2016, 2017 was very inexperienced about politics. He'd never held elected office. He'd never run for election. He had very little understanding, I think, of how hostile, the strength of the hostility to him, both on the part of the deep state and on the part of the professional politicians who control politics in Washington and who are, of course, connected to the deep state in all sorts of ways. I think Donald Trump knows now. He understands that. And I think he also knows, and I mean, he'll have seen who are the people he can rely upon better if there's going to be an effective Trump administration. So I think if he is re-elected, which is a very big if he's re-elected, then yes, I think that he will run a more structured administration than the one that he did previously. Donald Trump ran a very effective, in my opinion, a very effective domestic administration. He ran a successful economy. People tend to forget that. He was... on the domestic front, he achieved a great deal. His foreign policy was obstructed at every turn. The difference was he knew a lot more about the domestic issues in America and the people he could rely upon than he knew about foreign policy. Now he knows an awful lot more about foreign policy than he did then, and he knows who the people who he should listen to on foreign policy matters and whom he can rely on foreign policy matters are, which he didn't back in 2016, 2017. So yes, I think he has learned a lot.
I think one of the big differences as Trump now starts to campaign for 2024, at least in relation to 2016, is that he not only is going to have openly, he's not only going to have the Democrats and the Democratic establishment against him, the entire party, the DNC, academia, social media, big tech, all of it is going to be against him. But he now openly has a faction of the Republican Party against him. I think that's something that we didn't have in 2016, or at least it wasn't overt. Now it's overt. He knows. The entire world knows that Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and all of the rhinos, they despise him.
Yes.
They absolutely despise him, and they prefer Biden.
Yes.
Every day of the week, twice on Sunday, they prefer Biden. They want Biden rather than Trump. So, I mean, I think that's going to make a big difference as we get closer to 2024, as things progress.
Well, exactly. I mean, it comes back to what you said. I mean, when he became president, it sounds extraordinary to say, but there's lots of corroborative witnesses who confirm this. When he first became president, he wanted people to like him. He thought he could win them over. He thought he could even win people like James Comey over. Now he knows better. He knows that he can't win over today's equivalent of Senator McCain. I mean, he tried to win over McCain. Didn't do him any good. He ended up with people like McMaster, his national security advisor, because he let McCain join, select his foreign policy team for him to a great extent. So he's not going to make that mistake again. He's going to, he knows who his enemies are, and he knows who his friends are. The difference is not that he has a faction in the Republican Party that is opposed to him, because, of course, he did have that in 2016, even if he didn't really understand that. The difference this time is that he has a faction in the Republican Party that actually supports him. A faction that knows that he's not a Russian agent, that he's not all of the things that the media were trying to say. So I think that in a kind of a way, he comes to this from a more straightforward position than he did back in 2016, and potentially a stronger one. But be under no mistake, they will pull every stop to stop him being re-elected. And it's far from certain that he will be re-elected, and that's putting it mildly.
Yeah, why do you say that?
Well, because
I would say he's the front runner at this point.
He is the front runner at this point.
Republican candidacy, he's the front.
He's
at this point,
front runner is Republican candidate. But you yourself said that given the choice between Biden and Trump, there's plenty of establishment Republicans in the Senate who would rather have Biden than Trump. So I mean,
Absolutely.
he's got.
Biden was their colleague.
Exactly. He's got to break through all of that. Now, there are mechanisms. I mean, we've talked about the investigations that have been on Trump, but can I just repeat again a point which we have made many times in many programs? Because I still tire of reading about how Trump is supposedly this corrupt person. Trump has been the most investigated political leader in American history. And every single one of these investigations has come up with nothing. Absolutely zero. So when people talk about Trump being corrupt, we can say for a fact that he is not. He may have exaggerated and inflated the size of the value of some of his properties, as if most people in the construction industry don't do that to a certain extent. So, but actual, straightforward, graft, corruption, that kind of thing, if there'd been any evidence of it, it would have come out by now. Well, the Republicans in the House are now talking about launching their own investigations of the current administration and of the current president and of current members of his family. And you only have to look at the accounts, the articles written by someone like Jonathan Turley, professor of law, Washington University, for example, who sets out the far more impressive evidence there is of what might be found if you start pressing those investigations really hard. So, yes, they're going to pull out every stop. You're going to see the establishment Republicans teaming up with the Democrats to try to stop this man. And of course, as you rightly said, they got the media machine behind them. They got social media to a great extent behind them, except perhaps Twitter less today. They got every single thing that they can work on. But he's got advantages too. He's got a record, which was a time of prosperity compared with the situation today, which is not. He's got what I suspect is a foreign policy position, which is distinct from that of the administration and which will be popular with many people. And of course, he can point correctly out that every single investigation of him has come out with nothing, whereas it's highly likely that the investigations the Republicans are going to launch are going to come out with a great deal.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you whether you think the Republicans, the House Republicans, are going to really dig into the Biden organization. Let's just call it that. Let's call it the Biden organization, because I mean, there's so much you can get at, and you start at Ukraine with Burisma, 2014. Start at Ukraine, the coup d'état in Burisma, and you end in Ukraine. 2022, FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried. So I mean, you go full circle, but you always end up at Ukraine, and there's a lot of material that they can get to, and
I think they will. I think they will.
I mean, there's just so much.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will do exactly that. Now, can I just say? I mean, there is obviously there are people who don't like Donald Trump in the House Republican Party, but it's always seemed to me that House Republicans, because they're re-elected every 2 years, they've always been, they were even in 2017, they were much closer to the grassroots and to Donald Trump himself than Senate Republicans are. And I think that there will be a lot of pressure from within the Republican Party in the House to conduct these investigations. The great risk, the only risk I can see with these investigations is that there is just too much evidence. There is so much that could be unearthed that it's not impossible that people will eventually get bored and they'll become hardened to the fact that, you know, they've got an administration with a president who, shall we say, has many, 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 many questions to answer. I mean, that can happen. But on balance, I have to say, I think that the results will be pretty devastating. And if these investigations are pursued properly, and especially as I expect the administration to try and stonewall, that will probably create a very bad impression as well.
Yeah, I agree. Just maybe too much information that everyone just kind of says this is overwhelming, the amount of corruption. Yeah, that's possible.
It's possible.
All right, we'll leave it there. TheDuran.locals.com. We are also on Rockfin as well. You'll find the link for that down below in the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code GOODDAY. Take care.